Hello. This is my fourth time recording this video. The first time I tried to do an unmasking and I sat there for 40 minutes straight in silence because my natural state is like I just don't talk. The second time was last night and it went a lot better, but I had this mic in my hand and so I was waving my hands around, and for the latter half of the video, you couldn't really hear me that well, so I'm trying again. And then the third time, it went pretty well as too, but my cat was meowing nonstop. So let's hope he doesn't meow nonstop again. Um, but at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with level 2 autism. And I've always known that I had autism. Always thought it was Asperger's though. I didn't know there were levels to it. But I didn't know that I needed more substantial needs than I originally thought. So I'm going to talk about like the biggest thing for me with level 2 autism is social communication. I'll read the symptoms and then I'll put the source in the description below. Um, and if I'm like tech savvy, I'll put it right here too. But I will also put that on the screen just so y'all also have that. He's about to meow a lot. I am so sorry. He wants to go outside, but he can't go outside right now. But let's get into it. All right. So with social communication, there are marked deficits in verbal and nonverbal social communication skills. Social impairments apparent even when supports are in place. So I feel like I'm in the middle. Obviously, I'm not nonverbal. I'm speaking right now, but I have to force myself to talk because in my natural state, I do not want to talk at all. Talking hurts me. Sometimes I can't physically speak. Sometimes my throat closes up, and it sucks. And I haven't really brought it up a lot, even like growing up. That hurts because I just assumed that I just hurt everybody, but I did. Um, if someone wanted me to talk, they would kind of coax me to like talk, like I'm speaking to you, speak when you're spoken to. So I didn't really have a choice to not talk um, because they knew I was capable of it. But just because I'm capable of it doesn't mean that that's what I should be doing. So I wish I was diagnosed honestly as a kid so I wouldn't have to unlearn all of uh I guess unlearn the mask I built up over time. And also wish I could have worked on my speech skills. I went to speech during school, but I want to meet with psychologists next year or a speech therapist, probably a psychologist first and then speech therapist, because I'm not able to um, say more than one sentence at a time. I can't really say complex sentences. And actually, here, I'm going to jump down a little bit. A person, for example, a person who speaks simple sentences, let me go right back because it doesn't really make sense if we take it out of context. So let me read the whole thing. Um, So, for social communication, limited initiation of social interactions and reduced or abnormal responses to overtures from others. For example, a person who speaks simple sentences whose interaction is limited to narrow special interest in how has markedly odd nonverbal communication. So a few things. But one I want to highlight is like I can't say more than one complex sentence at a time. I think it's different if I'm reading from something and even then it's a little shaky, but I can't do like free time events, if that makes sense. If someone asks me, what did I do today? It's hard for me to respond. And I take a second to respond. There's a lot of choppiness in my speaking. I have to, I guess, focus on each word. I was speaking to my provider like during the assessment, and she pieced together that my mind, my brain has a natural way of organizing sentences. So I have to backtrack a lot. And this has been happening for forever. So when I think of a sentence and I'm recalling events, I think of the whole sentence and my brain automatically goes in the middle of the sentence and then the front, um, which is the wrong order. So I have to backtrack. And so what ends up happening is I say the middle of the sentence, like the meat and potatoes, and then realize it's wrong, and then start from the beginning, go to meat potatoes, and then the uh, the ending of the sentence. So storytelling is really hard. This is really hard. Hurts to talk right now. Um, and then abnormal responses to social overtures. Um, Sometimes I'm not able to formulate a response, and then I just pair like a word. So I say like, it sounds so bad saying out loud. Sometimes I say acknowledged, mm, heard, because I just don't have a response. But I want to make sure like the person listening knows that I'm attentive. So if I nod a lot and mm, most likely I don't have a response, and I can't. I don't want to force myself to make a response anymore. Um, but to seem more normal, I guess I try to force a response so I can contribute to the conversation. But sometimes I don't have anything to contribute, and I think that's okay.
Editing Nikki here. I wanted to add that I could also have a complete thought in my head, but I just can't verbalize it. Not sure what happens between my brain and my mouth, but I can have a complete thought, and then it can either be like it gets like jumbled up, and my brain like just rejects it, like yeah, we're not gonna say that, or um, it gets jumbled up, and my brain is like, "Girl, I guess we can try to say it, but it's gonna be sounding really funny." So, um, yeah, good luck with that. Just wanted to add that.
I don't think that I always need to contribute. I just want to be there to listen. Um, but it sucks because I'm not sure if it was in this take or the last take, but I do have a full time job, and I have to force myself to talk, and I have to force myself to do so many things to survive. So I have to pick: do I want to survive, or do I want to be myself? And of course, being myself, I would choose to not talk at all. Um, Another thing, not talk at all. I wouldn't mask so hard with my facial expressions. I had to practice facial expressions in the mirror and look at references on how to make facial expressions, because my natural unmasking state is I I'm expressionless unless it's like extreme emotion. Then I can like smile and what have you. But I'm expressionless, and so all the smiling you see in this video is masking. It is not real. I'm forcing myself to smile. It does not come natural. And maybe towards the end of the video, I will unmask for like a minute. Um, I'm not going to do what I did the first time and just not give myself a hard deadline because I just sat there for 40 minutes. All right. And of course, it talks about like narrow special interests. I have special interests. I guess I'll get into that in a different video, but I feel comfortable talking about those things because I feel like that's like knowledge that should be shared. Um, and has remarkably odd nonverbal communication. Um, I have to body language. I had to manually learn as well. I mean, I have to, make sure like when I'm walking down the hall and like in the office, and I have to make sure that I have to not look at a certain time. I sorry, the cat is just like meowing and he is distracting me a lot. Um, but I have to be very conscious of like how I walk, and like one foot um first and then the other foot and the other foot forward. Um, I have to be very mindful of how I how like my arms are placed, if I'm smiling. If not, I need to smile so I don't look threatening. Because if I don't mask, then it's gonna creep people out. Um, because I wouldn't really not care, but my natural state is like to not really be mindful of like the body language, or like I'm not forcing myself to do anything. Um, but it's very manual. Anything social is very manual. Um, I have to. It's like how do I say this? You know how people say that walking is second nature? It's not second nature to me. I have to be very mindful of like walking, and I have to make sure I don't like trip over myself, and make sure that I don't look out of place. And I guess that's the ultimate goal of like masking. And I haven't explained what masking is. I apologize, but essentially camouflaging yourself to make sure that you don't stick out as a sore thumb. So you want to blend in with everybody else to make sure that you don't draw attention to yourself. So normally when I'm talking to someone, I maintain eye contact, and um, when I guess I'm a little bit more if when I'm a little bit more relaxed, or I'm asking, then I try not to focus so hard about the eye contact. Oh goodness, where was I going with this? um, there's also a column where it talks about restricted and repetitive behaviors, inflexibility of behavior, difficulty coping with change, or other restricted slash repetitive behaviors appear frequently enough to be obvious to the casual observer and interfere with functioning in a variety of contexts. Distress and or difficulty changing focus or action. Interesting point about that. So for the repetitive behaviors that appear frequent enough to be obvious, um, so in 2022, I was diagnosed with OCD as well, and that's another thing. But autism and OCD can be like linked with the like repetitive behaviors, but I know the OCD stem from like trauma, and then I'm not sure if I'll even get into that. That's another can of worms. But showing how the two interlink is like when I get stressed, um, sometimes I do hit myself. I try not to do it in front of people, but the past two times I slipped up and then I accidentally hit myself in front of somebody, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Um, and so when I restrain myself, usually, I try not to hit myself. Sometimes it does happen, but when I restrain myself, the thoughts get louder in my head. It's like I respond to stress a lot differently. I respond to stress um, in a way where my brain is like, you have to get out of this situation as much as possible because the stress physically hurts. And ironically enough, the stress physically hurts to the point where I had to physically hurt myself. But when I don't act on like the urges to like, hit myself on the leg, or it's usually on the legs, or like claw my arms, it gets more severe. Um, so for the longest time, I had the thought to scratch off my skin when I get stressed, but now it's been like upgraded because I haven't acted on that action to like break my fingers now. You know what? I don't think I want to say I'm scared I will break my fingers, but I guess the thought is there to want to break my fingers because the stress is so immense. I can't really adapt too well to stress. I think that was the meat and potatoes. I think that was like the most I wanted to say about my autism diagnosis. I wish I was diagnosed sooner so I wouldn't have to try and start from zero. Well, not zero because I've known, but get professional help. Um, as a 27-year-old now, um, as opposed to getting the help I needed as a child. Um, and what sucks too, the last thing I will leave off is that maybe I'm masculine for this part. It sucks when your mask is so good that people don't believe that you have autism. And especially if you are a higher level, they tend to believe like, oh, you don't have that. Um, it sucks because like want to it makes you want to. Oh, my cat's about to yell. Don't do it. Anyway, um, don't do it. When you are a higher level, it makes you think that you shouldn't have even tried to fit in the first place. Maybe you should have prioritized being yourself and doing what's more comfortable than blending in. But a child doesn't know that. The child wants to survive. So children are very smart. They're going to do whatever, I guess, what their peers are doing, or what their parental figures are doing, or telling them what to do, other than like, well, I think this feels good naturally. Of course, there's like some instances where children stay true to themselves and like they don't follow the norm. But I think it's instinct that the child follows people that they trust or has power over them. So I wish I knew. It sucks, but I will get the help that I need. Um, and let me see if there's anything else I needed to say. When I got evaluated, she said that I spoke very well and it was above average because I did do college. I don't have an intellectual disability. Mm, I think that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. I know my speech can be better. Ideally, I want to get to the point where I can talk without taking such long pauses, but I want to see if that's possible because I'm not sure if that is possible. I think my brain's just wired that way to take long pauses. I don't think I can talk more than a sentence at a time. I think that's it. Thank you for listening. And yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate you. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.